Well, let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 3, fresh from his recent success in brokering the truce agreement between Israel and Gaza, Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi gives himself new powers that will prevent courts from overturning any decree he made since assuming office last June. These powers will exist until a new constitution is put in place. Morsi's political rivals say the president gives himself executive, legislative, and judiciary powers. On Twitter, former presidential aspirant Khaled Ali calls it, quote, the birth of a new dictator. At number 7, Royal Opera House's Tony Hall joins the British Broadcasting Corporation as its new Director General. Hall's appointment comes after a 10-day emergency selection process. Hall says, quote, it's been a difficult few weeks for this organization, but says he's confident that together we'll get through it. Hall also says he plans to, quote, build a world-class team for this world-class organization. His predecessor, George Entwistle, resigned over the BBC's reporting of child sex abuse. At number 8, a male dolphin transferred from the Philippines to a marine park in Singapore dies during its flight Thursday. When a 10-year-old bottlenose dolphin and 25 other dolphins were transferred to the Sea Aquarium and Adventure Cove Water Park in Singapore. The park, set to open next year, is touted as the world's largest with 100,000 marine animals. Wildlife activists in both Singapore and the Philippines fought to stop the transfer. And at number 9, after more than a decade of being on world maps, the World Coastline Database, and being visible on Google Earth, researchers from Sydney discovered that Sandy Island in the Coral Sea off Australia does not exist. Geologists were on a 25-day expedition when they realized the island was on their route. A crew member says, quote, we decided to actually sail through the island. Lo and behold, there was nothing. There's an island in the middle of nowhere that doesn't actually exist. The president of the British Society of Cartographers says the case of Sandy Island is probably due to human error, but says there's a possibility the island may actually exist somewhere nearby. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. The Philippine Ascals announced their final lineup for the 2012 Suzuki Cup. This is Southeast Asia's World Cup. The 22-man squad features national team mainstays like Chiefy Caligdong, Angel Garado, and Phil and James Younghusband. Notably absent from the selection is first-choice keeper Neil Etheridge, who was not cleared by his club Bristol Rovers to play in the tournament. The Suzuki Cup was a team's springboard towards national recognition when they reached the semifinals in 2010 before bowing to Indonesia on an aggregate score of 2-0. The tournament begins Saturday in Bangkok with the Philippines taking on Thailand. The Ascals know they are no longer underdogs, but they also know what's at stake, and they say they're up for the challenge.
A lot of Southeast Asian teams, so the surprise element is obviously kind of out the window in comparison to perhaps 2 years ago. But with the guys that we have in the squad, you know, obviously I expect us to do pretty well.
Filipinos in Hong Kong struggle against a rule that grants residency status to foreigners, but not to maids. Devon Wong reports.
Melly Bonwell. And how long have you lived? I come here since 1972.
For 40 years, Melly worked as a domestic worker in Hong Kong. Today, she is 76. In 2 years, Melly intends to finally move back to the Philippines. She is one of the first Filipino domestic workers employed in Hong Kong. But Melly and other domestic workers still aren't considered ordinary residents under Hong Kong's basic law.
We find it discriminatory. We also contribute to the economic of Hong Kong. But we are not included for the right of abode.
The Hong Kong Constitution states that a foreigner can apply for permanent residency after living in Hong Kong for 7 years, but domestic workers are specifically excluded. Unlike other foreign residents, domestic workers cannot vote and access public services. So while Melly continues to spend the majority of her time in Hong Kong, she can only cast a vote in a country she hasn't lived in since the 70s.
Oh, I want to vote with the nice people. Yeah.
Who did you vote for in the last election?
I vote for Benigno Aquino.
Last year, a longtime domestic worker named Evangeline Vallejos challenged the rule barring maids from permanent residency status and won in a landmark ruling. The government won on appeal, and the case is now with Hong Kong's highest court. In the meanwhile, overseas Filipino workers rely on self-organized services.
Living in Hong Kong is very nice. I love Hong Kong. This is my second home.
If the ruling is overturned, nearly 120,000 current and former domestic workers will be eligible to apply for permanent residency. Until then, domestic workers like Melly are lobbying the Hong Kong government, hoping one day there'll be more than silent foreigners in their country of employment. Devin Wong, Rappler, Hong Kong.
Singaporeans react to a survey saying they are the world's most emotionless people. A Gallup survey conducted in more than 150 countries shows only 36% of Singaporeans report experiencing emotions on a daily basis. Many say the city-state's competitive culture leaves them no room for feelings. A commenter writes on Yahoo, "We have everything and yet we have nothing. No one in this country actually lives life to the fullest. We merely exist." But one comments on Twitter, "How can Singaporeans be the most emotionless in the world when they complain the most every day? I'm baffled." That same Gallup poll also said that the Philippines was the most emotional people in the world. Well, now, every story on Rappler has a mood meter which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click on how you feel and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the front page, which crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories that got the most clicks, the most votes on the mood meter. If we take a look today, top stories of the day, Philippines protests the new Chinese passport map, 92% angry. We have 58 seconds, 63% sad, 33% angry, and the story that's gotten the most number of votes on the mood meter, the RH bill dead in the House, says Cojuangco, 36% happy, 61% angry, all contributing to the mood of the day. Today, most people are angry. Well, that's Rappler's newscast for today, Friday, November 23, 2012. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.